views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Welcome to Dynamic Destiny Radio with your host, Coach Pete Cafarcio on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Unpack your powerful potential this hour in a conversation that will revolutionize who you are. There's a way forward from feeling stuck. Learn the reasons most people feel their life is on hold and the practical things you can do about it. Join Coach Pete as he tackles the big, the little, the ugly, and the powerful in an hour of unparalleled radio you don't want to miss. If you knew your real purpose, would you live it or would you continue to turn away? Find out on Dynamic Destiny Radio with Coach Pete Cafarcio. Unpack your powerful potential now. So glad you're here. I'm Coach Pete, and you're listening to Dynamic Destiny Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. Each first and third Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific, we'll help you get unstuck and keep moving forward toward your destiny. I hope you're ready to unpack your powerful potential because that's what we do here. No sitting around watching life go by. Together, we're going to learn how to seize the day and go take action. You can find my show at transformationtalkradio.com or on my website, petecoaching.com. That's petecoaching.com. Hey, have you ever wondered what destiny really means? Do you think it's about some future event that you have no control over, a fixed pattern that's inevitable, kind of like fate? Or is it dynamic? Is it something that you participate in to create a destiny that you want? Well, that's what we're going to explore on this show, but we're also going to unpack your areas of hidden potential. And we're going to get very practical and show you what building a destiny roadmap is all about. This show is loaded with wisdom, tips, life hacks, and ways to keep you moving forward. Okay, I wanted to just start out with something that's kind of newsy right now. Admission here, my wife and I are fans of America's Got Talent. Okay, we watch it over the summertime. It's once a week we sit there and watch it. I know it's overly produced. I know it's kind of hokey, but I don't care. We love it. We're sentimental fools, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, on this season, there's this guy. His name's Cody Lee, and he is amazing. And I just encourage you, whether you're a fan of the show or not, go look him up. You can go on YouTube. Kat is going to display the link. So if you can make that live, but if you don't get that link, go to YouTube and just check this guy out. Search for Cody Lee. That's Kodilee, Cody Lee, and look for Golden Buzzer. And you can watch his first performance when he comes up on the stage. Here's the thing about Cody. He's blind. He's a 22-year-old guy. He's blind and he's pretty profoundly autistic. And so he comes up on the stage and you're looking at this guy and you're like, what's going on? His mom has to escort him because he's blind and kind of has to help him, through the questions that the judges ask. And as he's doing it, you're like, he sits down, then he goes to sit down at the piano and you're like, okay, what's this going to be like? And the judges kind of have that look like, And then he starts to sing. And it'll blow you away. Not only his talent level, because he doesn't miss a note, and he's got this beautiful voice that just connects with you, but there's something more to it. He connects with you. He really connects with people's hearts. And it's almost like a different person sat down and started playing. It's and he sings these great songs. Like his second song was like Bridge Over Troubled Water. And I can't get it out of my head. I keep singing it. And it's just amazing. You owe it to yourself to check this guy out. Now, tonight, they're going to announce the results. So I don't even know if he wins the whole season or not. I kind of think he's gonna, because he's got this amazing number of clicks and likes and following on YouTube. But just a humble kid. And you can see how much his mom went into helping him become who he is. And I wasn't even going to talk about this on the show, but it's definitely about destiny. And here's the thing, really, I think part of the reason people connect with Cody, it's not partly he's a beautiful singer, he's a great entertainer. Partly it's inspiring that he overcame this great obstacle, but I think there's more to it than that. And I think Cody is a message, and it's a message to all of us. And he's on this platform for America's Got Talent that's hitting millions and millions of people and multiple nations. Side note, I really think this whole season, all the winners just about in the finale all have some kind of inspirational story. Overcame cancer. One guy has deformed arms and he's a comedian. Others came back from there's a Detroit group, Detroit youth choir. They all overcame obstacles and they're doing their best. And I think here's the message really about Cody and what he's doing is we all have limitations. We all we're all broken in certain ways. And Cody definitely, it's obvious he cannot hide, his autism. And he doesn't want to. It's who he is. And then he also has this amazing gift inside. In fact, I think he's a savant. He's been diagnosed as a musical savant. He can hear us on one time and play all the notes. But that's really the message for all of us. We're all broken. We all are not everything we want to be. We all have limitations, but we also have amazing gifts inside, and we can make those things happen and make them come alive if we face those with courage and get the help that we need and push it out there and just get it forward, because it took a lot of courage for him to get out there on a national stage. So anyway, Cody Lee, check the guy out. I think you're going to love it. And if for anything like me, I'm not a big crier, but I'm telling you, I was a puddle. After I watched this guy. Okay, so back on track for today. Today's our first show. Yay! I'm super excited. And I want to get you excited about what's coming ahead in the coming weeks in this season, because I'm really looking forward to sharing this content with you. I'm going to have guests on here, and we really just want to inspire you and give you practical things to keep moving forward. Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the topics we're going to cover. I'm going to tell you my story and why I became a coach and why I'm doing this show. We're going to talk about a free giveaway that I produced to help you discover your destiny. And we're going to answer some common questions that I get. Okay, so that's what we got for today. Super excited, and hope you stay with us all the way through to the end. I do have to say, this is my first show. There is so much more that goes in producing one of these shows than you know. I mean, I'm behind the scenes now, and Dr. Pat and Transformation Talk Radio has been a great group to work with, but it's a lot of work. So it's exciting, but a lot of things to juggle here. So on this show, this season, we are going to dive into different topics. For instance, we're going to talk about building a destiny roadmap. Okay. You do have an influence about how well you're going to do in pursuing your destiny. We are going to talk about things that hijack or stall your progress, and like comparison. That's a big one. The wrong kind of mindset that'll keep you stuck thinking you're a victim. We're going to address those things to keep you moving forward. We're also going to talk about things that can accelerate your progress. Okay. Sometimes simple things can really help you move forward faster. I love the area of personal development, including like self-awareness, talent discovery, emotional intelligence. So we'll have a lot of content on that. I also love productivity and time management, because, hey, you could know exactly what your purpose is and moving toward your destiny. But if you don't get more effective and more efficient on how you use your time and get more productive, it's really going to slow you down. So I love those topics. We'll talk about those. And also, we're going to weave spirituality and faith all throughout the whole season. So it'll be a combo. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a journey. Here's something else you should know, though. Personally, I don't have a lot of patience for too much theory. Okay, I love to learn, but I want to know that things actually work and have proven results. Then I want to put those into practice. So the concepts that I'm going to be presenting have been tested. Okay, we'll have stories, we'll have testimonies of how these have worked, as well as some failures, right? To keep it real. Sometimes you can learn a lot more from a failure than you can from a success. And I'll tell you some of my failures, and maybe you could tell me some of yours. But I invite you on this journey together as we unpack your powerful potential. Okay? You can help me in how we put this how we put the show together by staying in touch with me. Okay. So my website is petecoaching.com. You can always email me, askpete@petecoaching.com. And in that, you can ask me questions. You can tell me how things are going for you. You can, just start a dialogue. I'm also on social media. You can see all of that on my webpage, and look forward to keeping that going, because the more I hear from you, the more content I can bring that's relevant. My favorite thing, I do public speaking. My favorite part of public speaking is the end. It's the Q&A part. And so help me here, okay? And get the Q&A going with me, and you'll help to shape some of the content here. Okay, we're getting ready to go on a break. You are listening to Dynamic Destiny Radio, and I'm Coach Pete. Growing up in a large family of 10, I never thought that I'd be living the life that I am today. I kind of felt sidelined a bit, a little bit forgotten. But along the way, I've learned quite a few things. And when we come back, I'm going to talk with you about how those unfolded for me. But my story and what happened with me is exactly what I help other people with now. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Kat, you can go to break. Welcome back to Dynamic Destiny Radio with Coach Pete, where we unpack your powerful potential. And I wanted to spend some time telling you my story so you can get to know me a little better and you can see why I do what I do. So the number one thing you need to know about me and my background, the biggest factor shaping my life, was my family. I am from a large family of 10. I'm number 7 of 8 kids. There's 5 boys and 3 girls. And we're within 12 years from the oldest to the youngest. So we were really packed in there. There are 31 first cousins just on my mother's side. And we all lived nearby in East Syracuse, New York. My dad was in sales and my mom was a teacher. So we didn't have like a lot of money, but we made do. Both my parents are still living. I love them like crazy. And they did a great job raising us kids. Not without issues and problems like every family has, but I owe them like so much. Thanks, Mom and Dad. We love you. When you're in a large family like that, it really helps if you have a lot of traditions. And my mom was fantastic at putting some traditions in place. For instance, we all played a musical instrument. Us 5 boys, we were all in Boy Scouts, all in academics. And we took, by and large, we took a lot of the same courses. We were raised in a strict Catholic upbringing. And there were high expectations, that you're going to go make something of your life. And here I am, number 7, and there's like this pecking order, right? A lot, and there's all these micro traditions and things too. When you get to be this age, you can do this. And I'm way, way down at number 7, and I'm watching all my older siblings, go through these different stages. And I can't wait till I get older and go through some of those stages. When that happens, though, there's a lot of decisions are kind of made for you. And your life kind of gets scripted out. Like, you're going to go to college, you're going to graduate in 4 years, and then you're going to get married and you're going to settle down and have kids and a lot of these other things. And, a lot of those kinds of decisions. So there was the impact, one of the impacts this had on me was you at some point then need to kind of break away from that and start to carve out your own path and say, well, my family influenced me and there was a lot of great things in there. But at the end of the day, I have to own this. I have to own my own life. I have to own my own decisions and my own destiny. Another thing that happens when you're that closely packed together and you all have the same last name and you have a reputation in the public school system is you need to develop an identity to stand out from the pack. And everybody in my family is a personality. Everyone, all of us are. The one that I wound up adopting, and I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but the slot I fit into was the nerd, weird, quirky guy. I started wearing glasses when I was 7 years old, and I was kind of an egghead and had this big vocabulary. And I was pretty smart. I picked up things pretty fast. Well, that kind of led to some pretty serious rejection that was pretty painful, and a lot of insecurity. And over the years, after I fled the coop, I searched hard to gather a lot of wisdom and figure out life, for both, for inner healing and understanding myself and understanding life and business and all those things. And I worked really hard for that. I scrambled to get that information and those principles. And that's actually why I decided to become a coach, because I needed it. And when I was looking for those things, it was hard to find. No one was offering it. This is pre-internet. I would scramble hard to get wisdom and to get unstuck. And every time I got another nugget, I kind of held on to that. And it was like kind of like gold to me. And I kept thinking, why aren't more people talking about this stuff? Well, I decided I'm going to take what I learned and I'm going to give it away freely. I'm going to just pour it out and I'm going to make it available. So that was a big purpose for me becoming a coach later in life, and also really one of the reasons for this radio show. The next big impact in my life was, we call these defining events or defining moments, was my conversion. Now, destiny means a lot of things to a lot of people. And that ranges in a whole gamut in different spiritual and religious philosophies. And you're going to hear my story and my relationship in that vein. But right out of the gate, I really want to be clear. This show is for everybody. I'm going to be real and open with my faith, but I'm not exclusionary. Everyone's welcome here. So when I told you I was raised strict Catholic. When I was about 16, I just kind of drifted away. Also, I should mention that my life was kind of accelerated in a lot of ways. I have 4 older brothers. You learn a lot about life at a younger age than normal, when they're all feeding you information and letting you get exposed to things. So by the time I was 16, I just kind of had enough. Religion wasn't doing much for me. And I just kind of drifted, started doing my own thing. Senior year, I kind of went off the rails in high school because I got accepted to college, blah, blah, blah. And it just became very empty. Sex and drugs and rock and roll and all the things the world was telling you is going to be a lot of fun. Well, hey, I got to do that stuff. I didn't have to wait till college. I got to do it all. And I was like, no, there's got to be more than life than this. And that's when I came to know Jesus in a very personal way. I experienced the love of God. And that was the change for me. Before I knew about God, but all of a sudden I experienced the love of God, his very presence, the Holy Spirit being on me and filling me over and over, and became very consistent. And that starts to change you, unconditional love like that. And I was hooked. Okay. The Bible became very alive for me and started speaking to very deep issues in my life and helping me, like I said, this getting unstuck and getting healed. Along the way, I also picked up a couple gifts. If you know much about spiritual gifts, I picked up the gift of prophetic discernment. I've also seen a lot of people get physically healed, but all these things go into the package and actually comes out in my coaching sometimes too. I'll be talking with someone, I'll just know something that I believe is a gift to you, for God to use me to help that person, to help them either get unstuck or keep moving forward and move on to the next thing. So I get a lot of downloads from God just in the mornings, and I've been holding on to those, and some of these are going to come out in the show as well. Another thing you need to know about me is coaching is my 4th career. Okay. Now, I want a little disclaimer. I'm not flighty. Every one of my career changes has been intentional. Okay. And I'll just tell you real quick where they were. My degree is actually in civil and environmental engineering, but I only practiced that for 2 years. And I paid for my own education at a private college. So when I left that career with a lot of student loans, it was a intentional decision. Here's why. I was bored stiff. I was stuck behind a desk crunching numbers, and it just was not a good fit for me. And I learned a lot about that. Like, the way you're wired is important. So I moved on. I also learned about moving on and letting your sunk costs go. We'll talk more about that. Our next phase, I met the local girl, moved to Pennsylvania, met the local girl. We're still married, 31 years. I love you, Lenny. And we made a huge change, and we went to live and work in an intentional community that cared for people with mental illness and mental retardation. We lived in a small apartment, shared our meals in a big dining room with a lot of people. And that place is still around. It's called Paxton Ministries. You can check their website out at Paxton, Paxton, min.org. Wonderful place. I thought we'd be there for about a year and a half. We had 2 kids. 8 years later, that's about the time we left. We were there for 8 years. I wound up doing fundraising and public relations for them. That launched me into promotion, sales, marketing, and partnerships. So it was a great learning experience. We loved being there. I think one of the big impacts of being at Paxton for us, though, I'm pretty high energy. I've got a good amount of ambition. And I just felt like our time there was almost like God was pressing the pause button and said, before you go take the world by storm and go pursue all your interests, learn to value individual people and learn to see the gold in people despite the outside appearances. And when you live with people, when we're sharing our lives, it was like a fishbowl. You couldn't hide. And some very, very interesting people, some profoundly deep people. And you learn that you yourself are broken. I thought I was going to go help people, but we found out we needed help too. And it was a great place for us to be. And both our kids were born there. So it was neat. Then we moved on. Next, I went through a career transition and went through a process and picked up some tools that were really great. Helped me with self-discovery, helped to map it to career goals. This is still a huge passion of mine because it landed me into my next career. But this is part of my coaching now. And for many of you, career is super important. If you want to find out more about this, go to my website, petecoaching.com, and check out the career workshop under services. I love coaching people on careers. My next phase was in high-tech startups in the area of cybersecurity. That taught me a lot about business and teams and leadership dysfunction. Okay, it's not always a picnic in startups. It's intense. And the big impact there was I would see what was going on, and sometimes I had the ability to change that and sometimes I didn't. But that's what helped me become a coach. I was like, you know what? There's some simple things here. It's not always about working harder. If your ambitions or your projects aren't going well, it's not always about working harder. Sometimes about getting people in the right roles. And sometimes it's about, just shifting them around or thinking about things a different way. And I had those insights. I've been holding on to them. Now I get to use those for a whole lot of my other clients. So I became a professional coach, and I've been a full-time coach now for 3 years. And I'm an executive coach. I have multiple certifications, including the International Coach Federation. I'm certified in Gallup Clifton Strengths. I'm also a partner at a coaching company called We Align, and I'm an executive coach there as well. We focus on Gallup Clifton Strengths. You're going to hear about that in some future episodes as well. Can't wait to share that information with you. And currently, that brings us to today. I'm living in New York City with my awesome wife, Lynn. We have 2 adult children. They also live in the city, so we get to see them. And so we did this major downsizing, moved from the farmland of Pennsylvania on 4 acres to now this small apartment here in New York. But we love being in New York City. We love the city, and we love all the people that we get to meet and interact with. Okay, I'm Coach Pete. You're listening to Dynamic Destiny Radio. When we come back, we'll talk about one of the biggest barriers to knowing your destiny and what you can do about it. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. Kat, over to you. We're back on Dynamic Destiny Radio with Coach Pete. For more about me, please visit my website at petecoaching.com. What do you think is the biggest barrier to you pursuing your destiny? What prevents you from getting clarity? So in speaking with my clients, one of the biggest barriers is lack of self-awareness. And I'm going to help you throughout the season to get clarity on that. But if you can clearly see yourself, then you'll know what your life purpose is and you can start moving forward. Here's one of the principles, though, that kind of gets in the way of self-awareness, and that is other people can often see you more clearly than you can see yourself. Other people can often see you more clearly than you can see yourself. The reverse is true too. You can often see other people more clearly than they can see themselves. Okay, and what this leads to is something that we call a blind spot. Okay, so if you're a driver, you might know what a blind spot is. It's typically on your right-hand side if you're in the United States. And behind you in the back corner, your side view mirror might not catch this one spot. A car could be traveling with you on the highway and you might not ever see him there. It's there, you just don't see it. We call it a blind spot, hiding in your blind spot. And one of the issues with us is we know ourselves, we've lived with ourselves our whole life, okay? And we get really used to who am I? All these things that I do, they seem natural, they seem normal, and I wind up assuming this is the way life is, and everyone does things this way. And I lose perspective, okay? Now, where that really shows up, though, is when I can see someone else, and I can see things in their life, because I don't live inside their head, and I don't live inside their life, and to me, it's very obvious, okay? So let me give you an example, just how that can show up in a kind of in a negative way. So a blind spot for me is, I'll just be totally honest, it's interrupting. Okay. Now, go back to my story about the large family. Imagine a family of 10 sitting down at the dinner table, and you're packed in mostly type A personalities, and there is competition for airtime to talk and to give your comments for the day or say how school went or whatever. And it's just this really loud, talkative thing. You have to interrupt, because there is no pause that's going to show up where you can nicely slip in your statement. You have to interrupt and be kind of aggressive on that. And what you said had to have probably been pretty important, or you better have your facts right, or you're gonna get called on that, and people will challenge you on that. So anyway, I developed this habit of, if I had something to say, I'm going to interrupt you. Now, I'm talking to somebody, say I just meet them for the first time, second time, it could be a coworker or somebody at in a social event, and they're like, man, that person really annoys me. They interrupt a lot. Okay, and here I am thinking I don't interrupt, and that's really annoying. Well, the reason that's probably annoying is because I probably have that same problem. That's a blind spot. Okay, it's a blind spot to me. It's something in my life. I'm too close to it, so I don't see it, but I can see it really clearly in someone else. And they could probably see it in me. It's like, oh, Pete, who is this guy? Man, he interrupted me 4 times in this conversation. I'm not defending my interruption, by the way. I admit it. It's a habit I'm trying to break. And if you're my friend, please tell me if I interrupted. Okay, blind spots can also happen in positive things in your life too, though, in your talent areas. Okay, you could be exceptionally gifted or talented in a certain area and not know it. How's that? You might not know it because you've been living with it your whole life. And plus it comes easily to you. It could come so easily that you just you don't value it. And you're like, oh, that's no big deal. Everybody does that. Not true. And you can become blind to your own talent areas. I'll poke fun of myself again. I have an ability in Gallup, Clifton Strengths Talk. It's called strategic. Okay, which means I can look at some data, or I can hear a dialogue or whatever, and very, very quickly, I can come to the root cause analysis. I can tell you, this is the core issue. This has to get dealt with. If it's not dealt with, we're in trouble. And here are 3 or 4 paths forward. This one has the highest likelihood of success. Okay. It's such an ingrained thing that's almost instinctive. I don't even have to think about it that hard. It just happens. But I didn't know that I was really good at that. I just thought, okay, people who think do this. Okay. And then what happens was I'd be in groups, like work groups at work and, or, doing some kind of planning, and I'd be doing my thing and my strategic would kick in. I'd be like, bam, 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 this. And I'd have the answer immediately where everyone else is still trying to think about it and still gather the facts, but I would jump right on it. And because I didn't realize I was exceptional in it, I turned around and judged the people that I was with. I was like, why can't you see this? Come on, guys, you're taking too long. What are you, dense? Right? And I got this judgmental attitude. Instead of, if I had known, hey, Pete, you have a gift in this and you're a little farther ahead in this area. So be patient with these other people. Maybe slow down. Maybe explain to them what's going on, or how you came to your conclusions. Okay. I now know that. And so I can be better with this. But that was when that talent was in the raw format. So that awareness, self-awareness, see, before it was a blind spot, like I'm being abrasive with my team members because I'm acting like a know-it-all. Self-awareness showed me, oh, this is something I need to steward. I need to take care of this gift and I need to present it in a better way. Now, all of a sudden, okay, I can do that in a mature way and it's going to benefit everybody else around me. Okay, this is the power of self-awareness. How do you get that self-awareness? Well, that same thing that you can see other people can see you better than you can see yourself. We're going to hack that principle and use it to our benefit. And I created a free download for you, a free tool. So go to petecoaching.com/blind spot, petecoaching.com/blind spot. But this should be in the show notes as well. And you can download it. It's free. All I want you to do is give me your name and give me your email address. There is a video in the download that you can click on and watch it on YouTube. I'll explain a little bit more about the principle, give you some tips. There are 2 reflection exercises in there where you want to sit back and think about the questions that I ask in there. And then there's an exercise where you're actually going to go and ask people in your life to help you by giving you feedback. You're literally going to ask some people, hey, what are my top 5 strengths, top 5 qualities that you most like about me, or my strengths? Okay. And if you start to see patterns, okay, more than one person is telling you the same thing, bingo, there's a clue. That's a strength in your life. Again, you might not think it's exceptional. Of course not, because you grow up, you've lived with it your whole life. But other people are telling you it's exceptional. And that's the whole purpose for this exercise, is to get that third party, that kind of feedback. Okay, so each week I try to have a Make It Real challenge. And here it comes, drum roll. This is your Make It Real challenge for this episode, is go do it. Okay, find a friend if you need to. Go download this tool and work through the exercises. And if you need to do it with another person for accountability, just go do it. Ask a buddy of yours or a friend or a coworker. Hey, let's do this together. Coach Pete said I have to do it. No, if it's up to you, right? But I want to challenge you to do it. Okay, then work through those exercises. After you get your results, I want you to write back to me and let me know what you discovered. What did you discover by way of self-awareness? And you want to write to askpete@petecoaching.com. You just email me your results, tell me what you learned from it, what insights you got. If you send in a good write-up, good chance I'm going to feature it on one of the upcoming episodes. Okay? So do the exercise. Again, petecoaching.com/blind spot, and work through it. I have used this tool over and over and over again. I've done it with individuals. I've done it with small groups, and it's amazing what happens when people come back. And I just used it 2 months ago with a group that I was facilitating. And this one woman came back and she said, my mother, my sister, and my friend all said the same things about me, and I didn't think it was a big deal. And she was getting teary. She goes, I'm an encourager. They all are telling me I'm very encouraging, and I just didn't know that about myself. And it really filled her up, her heart, and it encouraged her. By the way, side note, people with the gift of encouragement often need the most encouraging. So if you have an encourager in your life, turn around and bless them somehow and give them an encouragement. Anyway, back on track. This was her situation. I've seen this happen over and over and over again. It's about self-awareness. You're going to use other people's perspectives and you're going to turn it around and make it work for you, okay, on your behalf. If you have any questions, you can also write, again, ask Pete at petecoaching.com, but work through the process. We're going to talk about a lot of principles on the show. You have to do them. And in fact, if you listen to something on the show and you're like, hey, that's really great, but I'll remember that. I'll just put that in my thought bank and I'll come back to it later. Not true. If you hear something that inspires you, act on it. Just take action. You've got about 3 days before you're going to absolutely forget about it and you'll never do it again. In fact, if you revisit it after 3 days, you'll be like, yeah, that was a good idea, but I'm not going to do it now. If you're inspired by this, go take action. And not just for this tool, anything. If you get inspired, go take action. Okay, you are listening to Dynamic Destiny Radio with Coach Pete. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to answer some questions I often get about destiny. So don't go away. We're going to unpack this. Welcome back to Dynamic Destiny Radio with Coach Pete, the show where we unpack your powerful potential. On this segment, I'm going to answer some of your questions. If you want to submit a question, just email me at askpete@petecoaching.com or visit my website, petecoaching.com. Okay, this is my first show, so I don't have any questions, right? So what I thought I'd do is hit some of the questions that I often get asked by my clients or some of the other people that I lead. And I have two. They're big existential ones, but we're going to try to tackle them in a short period of time here. Okay, the first one is, what's the difference between destiny and life purpose, right? And these are big topics. A lot of people want to know this stuff. What's my life purpose? What's my purpose in life? What's my destiny? Okay, so I'm going to unpack this a little bit. When you think of destiny, think of the word destination. Destination, destiny is where you wind up. My destiny is where I'm going to wind up. Okay, now you can feel like or think that that's fixed, set like fate, or that you have a lot of choices in before you get there. Life purpose is different. Life purpose is what's your purpose in life. It's not so much about the destination. It's about what you were designed for. Okay. It's more about who you are and maybe the kind of person you need to be in order to get where you want to go. So your purpose is written in who you are, your gifts, your talents, your experiences. That makes you the person. I have a purpose. My destination is where that might take me. Now, those as far as your purpose, it's not necessarily automatically fulfilled. Okay, it's just what you have the potential to do. Okay, so destiny is where your life's purpose, when that gets activated and fulfilled, that's where you wind up. Okay, it's the place, you can feel like this is where I was meant to be. A lot of people say that. I just feel like I was meant to be doing this. Awesome. You're in your purpose in life. Okay, how far that's going to take you, that's your destiny, and that's up to you. Okay, I'm going to give you an example from someone who I absolutely adore, is my wife. Okay, so she is wired to be a teacher, and if you see her in action, you just know it right away. She loves to research. She can explain things really well, and she's very patient with people. That's her life purpose. She is designed and she has a purpose to teach people and to help them understand. Okay, and she just loves facts and things like that. Her destiny, though, could take her in a lot of different directions. She was a high school teacher, and she was also a junior high teacher, junior high history teacher. She loves ancient history. She loves Egypt and Greece and Rome. She has an archaeology minor. Okay, she's really into that stuff. Her purpose is to be a teacher. Her destiny back 15 years ago, she was a teacher. Now she one of her things she does is she is a docent at the Metropolitan Museum of Art here in New York City. And she specializes in Egypt, Greece, and Rome, and ancient world. She can do the modern ones and the American history and things as well. But do you see her destiny, what she's doing? She's still a history teacher. She's teaching people. And by the way, she does school groups when they come on field trips. She's still teaching kids about history, but it's a completely different setting. It's a different destination where she wound up, but the purpose that's wired inside of her and what makes her come alive, that hasn't changed. Okay, so her life purpose was to be a teacher. Her destination changed a little bit based on choices that she made. Okay, now that whole self-awareness thing we were talking about last segment, that comes into play here too, because when I first married her, she didn't have that awareness that she was going to be a good teacher. It's through trying different things out. We were teaching Sunday school at church, and we started teaching our kids before they were school age about how to read. And something inside of her really came alive. And so she discovered her life purpose. Okay, so destiny is about where you wind up, and choices that you make are going to steer where that happens. But your purpose is how you're wired and the kind of contribution you're going to make in the world. Okay, next big question. This one was huge. Theologians have been tackling it for centuries. I'm only going to lightly touch on it, but that's, how can I know God's will for my life? Okay, I get this question a lot. And if someone asks me that question, the first question I want to throw back to them is, why are you asking that question? Why do you want to know God's will for your life? If it's because you're grateful, you're thankful to God, you want to honor him, you want your life to be a reflection, to make the world a better place, and a reflection of his love to everyone else, that's awesome. I want you to know God's will too. If you want to know God's will because you're afraid of making a mistake, and I want to know God's will, why? Because I don't want to make a mistake. And what is that? I might experience pain, or I might get sidetracked a little bit. Yeah, we need to go a little deeper on that, okay? Because listen, yes, pray for guidance. Yes, there are times when obvious signs or events appear to give you which direction you should go. An open door, a closed door. Sometimes things are really specific. I've experienced plenty of those in my life, but I will tell you that by and large, they're far and few between. And listen, folks, it's called faith for a reason. Okay. It's not all scripted out. Okay. There's not this real clear exact path of turn here and do this and do that. There's times when you might get that, but mostly it's not that way. It's a journey. Okay. And you have to put your big boy pants on or big girl pants on. You have to keep moving forward and use a different kind of faith. Trust that God loves you and that he has the ability to keep you from destroying yourself. If you're sincere, there's this way of life getting us back on track. Okay. And if that's your right attitude, that I want that, you're going to get it. Okay. So I've heard this quote before that God's will, in quotes, God's will is best understood in hindsight. God's will is best understood in hindsight. Meaning, as I look back on my life, it's funny because I'll tell people in telling the stories about my life in the narrative, I'll look back and say, oh, God led us here and here and here. Truth is, in the middle of that, when we had to make those decisions, I didn't know. I mean, we hoped we were doing the right things, but made some major big decisions. I told you the career paths that the changes that we made there. We were hoping it was the right thing. Looking back, it all worked out great, and we were really blessed, and we grew and impacted a lot of people. It was awesome. Okay, but I now understand that was God's will. Looking back, when you're in the midst of it, you don't always have that kind of clarity. And such is life. That's why it's called faith. Okay, but here's the real big point of what's God's will for my life. It's more about a relationship with him and how you walk through life. Okay, it's more about the purpose part of it than it is about the destination. It's about what is God's will? Well, God's will is for you to have a relationship with him. And he doesn't want to hand everything to you on a silver platter, and he doesn't want robots. He wants a relationship with you. Okay? He's much more concerned with the journey than he is with the destination. Okay. For instance, are you learning to love? Are you learning to love your fellow man? Okay. Are you growing? Are you continuing to learn more? Are you expanding your boundaries and your horizons? Are you walking in courage? Okay. Are you facing your fears? Are you trying new things? That's what it's about. It's about those steps that you're taking, not what the actual steps are, but the fact that you are moving forward. Okay. More important, I believe, when we're talking about God's will, is that relationship, who you're becoming, much more so than where you wind up. Now, we need those goals. We need those ideas. I want to aim toward that. This is the destiny that I want. Great. I'm fully behind you on that. Let's do it. But it's the journey. That's where the magic is. That's where the gold is. It's also where the discouragement can be and where we can get hung up and tripped up. And that's what we're here to do, right? Well, I want to get you unstuck so you can keep moving forward. Okay. I have a quote for the day. And you may have heard this came from Mark Twain. That has been disproven. So it's just kind of out there floating. It's a cool quote. It's powerful. The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. Two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. So I want to encourage you to go find out why. Why were you born? Okay, that's what we're going to do on this show. For this whole season, we're going to help you unpack that. Okay, I want to thank you all for tuning into Dynamic Destiny Radio. I had a wonderful time. I hope you did too. Please join me every other Wednesday at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, and 9 a.m. Pacific time. And visit me at petecoaching.com. And remember, you really are God's gift to the world. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us on Dynamic Destiny Radio with Coach Pete on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Are you ready to go make a difference? Unpack your powerful potential and watch the world around you transform. Tune in next week and discover new ways to make a positive impact in your world and within yourself. When you learn to love and accept yourself, you can spread that power far and wide. Learn to discover your special gifts and how they are best used to serve others. That is how you become truly alive. Reshape your future into a dynamic destiny. Learn more about Coach Pete by visiting petecoaching.com. That's PETE coaching.com.